She was my troubled daughter, but now she has finally found peace.
Then the chapel doors banged open against the back wall. Every head turned. Jennifer Caldwell strode down the center aisle, alive. Gasps rippled through the mourners. Some clutched their chests. Others whispered her name. Behind the pulpit, Linda Caldwell's face went white as ash. The microphone slid from her trembling hand. It hit the floor with a shriek of feedback that pierced every eardrum in the chapel. Emily Caldwell, already pale as candle wax, swayed once and collapsed sideways, her body folding like a broken doll. The congregation erupted. A man in the back shouted, "That's her!" and a woman near the aisle started crying. Beside Jennifer, Joseph Kessler reached into his jacket. He didn't draw a handgun. He pulled out a manila envelope. But that envelope, and the secret it held, wouldn't make sense without the fire that started everything 9 days earlier. 9 days earlier, the Paradise Fire roared down the canyon, pushing a wall of flame toward Jennifer Caldwell's isolated cabin.
Grab the laptop, the photo, the deed. Don't think. Move.
She threw the bag into the back of her SUV as embers pelted the gravel like orange hail. The windshield glowed blood red. She floored it, praying the tires wouldn't melt. Flames swallowed the road behind her. Branches exploded overhead like gunshots. When she finally outran the fire, her phone displayed one brutal word: no signal. She drove deeper into the national forest, holding the phone out the window like a fool. By dusk, the rutted track ended at a wall of blackened timber, still smoking.
No signal. No power. No one knows I'm still alive.
9 days would pass before another human being knew it too. By the second day, with Jennifer still missing, Linda Caldwell picked up the phone and dialed the family attorney.
My daughter is missing and presumed deceased. I need to file a death affidavit immediately.
She forged dental records using a template from a dentist struck off the registry a decade earlier, then mailed them in. When the insurance company requested verification, she pressured her younger daughter, Emily.
But Mom, they'll ask questions. I can't just say she's dead if we're not sure.
We are sure, Emily. The fire left nothing. Do you want to wait until the bills pile up and we lose everything?
She's twisting my arm, but if Jennifer really is gone, maybe it's the only way.
The claim paid out 6 days later. Linda held the check for $620,000, her lips curling into a satisfied smile. That same afternoon, she dialed the church and reserved the chapel for a memorial service.
We'll have a beautiful service. My troubled daughter finally found peace.
On the 9th morning, Jennifer picked up a weak signal and her phone exploded with 47 missed messages. The first one she opened was from a cousin. "So sorry about Jennifer. Can't believe she's gone."
Gone? They think I'm dead?
She scrolled past condolences, then saw the church bulletin, "Memorial Service for Jennifer Caldwell." Shaking, she dialed the church. Pastor William Grant answered, his voice wary.
"Miss Caldwell, I was told you'd been identified by dental records. Your sister Emily confirmed it."
Dental records? I've never even had a cavity. My mother and sister lied to you.
The line went silent. In the background, she could hear the choir practicing for her memorial.
They cashed a policy on my life and threw a party before I was even in the ground.
Jennifer ended the call. Her hands were steady now. She knew exactly who to call next. Jennifer got back in her SUV and drove 4 hours to the office of Joseph Kessler, the forensic CPA who had handled her grandmother's estate. By the time she arrived, he was already waiting with a yellow legal pad and a voice recorder on.
Mr. Kessler, my mother filed a death affidavit. I need proof it was forged.
Sit down, Miss Caldwell. Tell me everything from the fire onward.
She recounted the 9-day blackout while his pen scratched across the paper without pausing.
The dental records are the linchpin. If she forged those, the whole facade crumbles.
He opened a file box labeled Caldwell Estate and pulled out the original trust documents and her grandmother's correspondence.
Your grandmother kept a paper trail on everything. If there's a forgery, we'll find it here.
How long will this take? My memorial is tomorrow afternoon.
I'll work through the night. Go home, Miss Caldwell. I'll call the moment I have something solid.
For 6 hours, Joseph Kessler did not sleep. He cross-referenced dental templates, license numbers, and state registry records.
This signature the dentist was disbarred in 2019. The records are fabricated.
He set the forged dental chart beside the State Dental Board's revocation letter. The mismatched details were undeniable. At 5:47 a.m., he called Jennifer.
Miss Caldwell, the dental records are fake. The dentist was struck off the registry in 2019. We have ironclad proof.
Then my mother didn't just bet on my death. She manufactured it. Send me everything.
Images of the forged affidavit and the board's revocation memo appeared on her screen, each one a nail in her mother's coffin.
She didn't even wait for a body. She just saw an empty cabin and a dead phone and thought she'd won. Joseph, how fast can you have physical copies ready? I want them in your hands when we walk into that church.
As Joseph printed the final copies, Jennifer started her engine. The drive to the church would take all day, and nothing would be the same again. 30 minutes into the drive, a warning her grandmother once gave her came back like a match struck in a dark room.
But Grandma said something once, something about the trust protecting me from Mom.
In a sunlit garden 20 years ago, young Jennifer had sat at her grandmother's knee, listening to a lesson she didn't fully understand.
Your mother is weak, Jenny. If she ever tries to steal what's yours, the trust will catch her.
The old woman had pressed a folded document into 10-year-old Jennifer's hands, the clause hidden in plain sight.
That clause, what if it's still active? If she defrauded me, the estate might revert to me. Joseph, pull the full trust document. Right now, I need to know if there's a forfeiture clause.
Joseph flipped through the estate file, his finger stopping on a page he'd overlooked a dozen times.
Miss Caldwell, there is. If a beneficiary attempts to defraud another, the entire principal reverts. The $4.1 million would be yours.
Jennifer stared at the road ahead, the wheel vibrating in her hands. Her mother hadn't just stolen $620,000, she had just handed over $4 million more. By mid-morning, she picked up Joseph and merged onto the highway south, the burned forest shrinking in the rear view.
I can't believe she actually thought she'd get away with it.
Your mother is a gambler, but she's never been good at math. The evidence will turn the room.
Mile after mile, the flatlands stretched ahead, heat shimmering off the asphalt.
She's been competing with me since I was old enough to hold a dollar bill. This was just the final bet.
The trust clause is airtight. Once the fraud is proven, the transfer is automatic.
As the sun began its slow descent, Jennifer pulled the car to the shoulder. In the distance, the white steeple appeared like a checkpoint.
Time to become the ghost that haunts her memorial.
Joseph folded the evidence into his jacket, his expression unreadable. Jennifer killed the engine. The only sound was the distant choir warming up inside. The organ swelled into the first hymn, muffled by the heavy wooden doors.
She's up there right now, telling a room full of people I'm finally at peace.
Beside her, Joseph studied the chapel door like a man measuring the exact second to breach a room.
The evidence is clean. All you need to do is walk in.
Walk into my own funeral. Sure.
She pressed her palms flat against the steering wheel, soaking the last of the day's heat.
Your grandmother once told me you were the strongest Caldwell. I'm starting to believe her.
She knew Mom would pull something like this eventually. That clause was her last gift.
Jennifer released the wheel and cracked her door open. The gravel crunched under the weight of what came next. The hymn inside swelled into amazing grace, each note pulling her toward the chapel steps. The chapel doors crashed open, framing Jennifer and Joseph against the dying sunlight. The organist's hands froze. Every mourner turned, a collective gasp rising like steam. At the pulpit, Linda's lips kept forming silent words long after her mind went blank. Joseph stepped forward, pulled out the manila envelope, and pressed it into the pastor's trembling hands.
What is the meaning of this?
The silence that followed had a presence, as if the chapel itself was holding its breath. Emily Caldwell lifted her head from the cushioned pew, her fainting spell ebbing into dazed confusion. Joseph's voice cut through the stillness. "Pastor Grant, those papers prove Jennifer Caldwell is alive, and her death affidavit is a forgery." The pastor stared at the envelope as though it might bite. Behind him, Linda's knuckles paled on the lectern. The eulogy she had prepared was worthless now. The pastor peeled open the envelope and pulled out the forged affidavit, the revocation letter, and the dental records.
These documents claim Jennifer Caldwell's dental records were verified by Dr. Marcus Webb, but according to this, Dr. Webb was disbarred in 2019.
Gasps erupted. A woman in the third row clutched her husband's arm.
That's a lie. Those records are authentic. Someone is trying to frame me.
Then explain why the signature matches your handwriting, Mrs. Caldwell. Explain why the state board confirms the dentist hasn't practiced in 5 years.
Voices rose from the pews, accusing Linda of fraud. Linda opened her mouth to speak, but only a croak emerged.
This is a house of God, and this is a grave matter. I will have to report this to the authorities.
The congregation erupted into murmurs and headshakes, the funeral now a courtroom. Linda gripped the pulpit to keep from falling. The game was over, but the final hand hadn't been played yet. Jennifer stepped forward, her heels clicking on the wooden floorboards, silencing the room as she walked toward the pulpit.
You stole $620,000, Mom. But you forgot that Grandma never trusted you.
Joseph unfolded the trust document, its thick parchment catching the colored light from the stained glass windows.
Eleanor Vance's trust contains a forfeiture clause. If any beneficiary attempts to defraud another, the entire principal reverts.
The congregation collectively leaned forward, mouths agape, a sea of wide eyes.
That means the $4.1 million you thought you inherited 3 years ago? It's mine now.
Linda's face drained of color. She clutched the pulpit as if the floor had buckled.
That can't be. The will was probated. I have the legal letters.
Probate doesn't override a valid trust, Mrs. Caldwell. The clause is enforceable.
Pastor, please call the authorities, and I'll be at the estate office to claim what's mine.
Linda's lips moved wordlessly. Her gaze flicked from Jennifer to Joseph, seeking a lifeline that wasn't there.
You can't do this. I'm your mother. Everything I did was to protect the family.
Emily pushed herself upright from the pew, swaying, her face streaked with tears and anger.
You lied to me. You told me she was dead. You made me an accomplice to fraud. I did what I had to do. You don't understand. I understand you stole $4 million and tried to bury my sister alive. You used me.
Linda's legs gave out. She slid down the pulpit, her dress pooling on the wooden floor. The trust document fluttered down beside her. The congregation stared in horrified silence. No one moved to help her.
You gambled and lost, Mom. Just like you always do.
The only sound was the distant siren, as someone had already called the authorities.
The fire didn't kill me, Mom. You tried to finish what it started, but you failed. I'm taking the estate, and I'm pressing charges. You'll answer for every forged signature. Grandma knew you'd try to steal from me someday. That's why she protected me with the trust.
Jennifer turned her back on her mother and began the long walk up the aisle. The congregation parted like water, their whispers a hiss that filled the chapel.
Please, Jenny, don't do this. I'm your mother.
Jennifer didn't slow. Her heels clicked a steady rhythm against the wooden floor. Joseph fell into step behind her, the empty envelope still in his hand. At the doorway, she paused, letting the afternoon light wash over her face.
I walked in dead. I'm walking out alive, and I'm taking everything she stole.
As Jennifer stepped onto the gravel, the church door banged open again. Emily burst out, her dark dress billowing.
Jenny, wait, please. I need to talk to you. I swear, I didn't know she forged the dental records. She told me you were really gone.
But you didn't call me, Emily. You didn't even try. You just went along with it.
She said you had no signal. She said you were Ash. I didn't know what to believe.
You believed what was convenient. That's the same thing Mom does.
I'm sorry. I'll do anything to make this right. Don't shut me out.
The only way to make it right is to let the law sort this out. I can't trust you yet.
Jennifer opened the passenger door and slid inside. Joseph was already behind the wheel, the engine idling. Emily stood on the church steps, her outstretched hand falling to her side as the car pulled away. The sedan rolled onto the highway, the church steeple growing smaller until it was just a white fleck in the heat.
9 days without a signal, and she almost buried me.
The trust transfer will take a few weeks, but the clause is ironclad. You'll have control soon.
It's not about the money, Joseph. It's about what she tried to erase.
You're not erased. That's what everyone in that church saw today.
The road stretched ahead, flat and unending. The sky bruised with the last orange of sunset.
Grandma set this up for me. She knew.
The authorities will handle your mother. We'll file the insurance fraud report first thing tomorrow.
Tomorrow. For now, I just want to keep driving.
The car pushed deeper into the night, the past finally shrinking behind them. In a corner office with mahogany walls, Jennifer Caldwell lifted a fountain pen. The trust transfer documents covered the desk.
One signature, Miss Caldwell, and the Vance estate is yours.
Jennifer pressed the nib to paper. The stroke took less than a second, yet it sealed a 4-year legal war before it began.
Grandma, I hope you can see this.
The bank statement arrived 2 days later. The account balance now read $4,100,000. Jennifer stared at the number until it blurred.
The insurance investigation is also moving. Your mother's accounts are frozen.
Good. Let her feel what it's like to have everything taken away.
You've secured your grandmother's legacy. Not many can say that.
Jennifer shook his hand and walked alone to the parking lot, the judge's signature still warm in her bag. The cemetery lay still under a pale morning sun. Jennifer carried a bouquet of white lilies toward a familiar marble stone. She knelt on the damp grass and laid the bouquet against the base of the stone.
You knew, didn't you, Grandma? You saw this coming.
Her fingers traced the engraved letters as a memory surfaced, a garden warm with summer light.
Jenny, your mother will always take the easy path. Promise me you'll never let her take yours.
I promise, Grandma. I won't let her.
The memory dissolved. A breeze stirred the lily petals, and Jennifer was 31 again, alone with a stone.
I kept my promise, Grandma. I gave her nothing, and she lost everything.
She stood, the morning sun warming her shoulders like a long overdue benediction. Jennifer walked out of the cemetery, leaving the lilies and the past where they belonged. The front page of the local paper landed with a thud. Fraudster mother loses $4 win million inheritance. Linda's mugshot stared out from the page. In a sterile interrogation room, Linda Caldwell sat alone, her hands cuffed to a metal table. The police had seized her bank accounts, her car, even the dress she'd worn to the memorial.
All those years, and it ends in a cold room with a one-way mirror.
Outside the station, a small crowd had gathered, holding signs that read, "Justice for Jennifer." A reporter spoke into a camera. Linda Caldwell faces charges of insurance fraud, forgery, and embezzlement. Inside, Linda pressed her forehead to the cold metal and let out a breath she'd been holding for 30 years.
She was right about the trust. I gambled, and I lost.
The door clicked open. An officer stepped in. "Mrs. Caldwell, your lawyer is here." Linda didn't look up. The game was over. There was no lawyer who could undo what Jennifer had done. The church sat empty, the pews scrubbed clean of the scandal. Emily Caldwell returned alone. She stared at the pulpit where her mother had collapsed. The image burned into her mind. Then she pulled out the letter Jennifer had mailed her, the paper already worn from rereading.
Emily, you were manipulated, but you also chose to believe what was easiest. I am not ready to forgive you. Maybe one day, but not now.
The letter fell to her lap. Her shoulders shook.
She's right. I could have questioned it. I was too weak.
The silence in the chapel was louder than any choir, pressing down on her. She buried her face in her hands, sobs echoing off the wooden beams. Outside, the wind rattled the front doors, but Emily didn't move. She had nowhere left to go. Hundreds of miles from the church, Jennifer Caldwell stood on a high-rise balcony, the city skyline stretching before her in the warm dusk. In her hand, she held a worn photograph of her grandmother, not the trust document. That battle was over.
You gave me the shield, Grandma. I just had to be brave enough to use it.
The wind lifted the ends of her hair, and for the first time in years, she felt no weight on her shoulders. She was no longer the woman who walked into her own memorial. She was the one who walked out with everything. She tucked the photograph into her pocket and turned back toward the glass doors. Inside, the lights of her new penthouse flickered on automatically, welcoming her.
Tomorrow, I'll donate to the Wildfire Relief Fund. Some good should come from all of this.
Then she closed the door, shutting out the noise of the world and the memories of the chapel. The woman who had been declared dead was finally, fully, and irrevocably alive. A sunrise spilled gold across a glass-still lake, the last stars dissolving into dawn. Jennifer Caldwell stepped onto the damp sand, barefoot, the hem of her dress skimming the water. There was no crowd, no pulpit, no microphone, only the hush of the lake and the weight she'd finally set down. She stopped where the water met the shore and let the cold wash over her ankles. A fish jumped. A bird called. Life went on, unbothered by the schemes of the past. Jennifer looked up at the light spreading across the horizon, and the faintest smile touched her lips. The ashes of her cabin, the lies in the church, the cold interrogation room, they were no longer hers to carry. Her grandmother's voice echoed in the quiet, not a warning now, but a lullaby. She turned and continued walking, every step pressing a new beginning into the sand. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply living well and honoring the ones who truly loved you.